Hello friends, this is Matthew at the Tillsonburg Library, and this is a virtual tech talk about our microfilm reader. First I want to say forgive me if the camera is a little shaky. I'm using a hand tripod, but it's not the best. This microfilm viewing station can be found in the local history section of our library. This is a wonderful machine. I like it. I find it very easy to use once you get to know how to use it. It is a very popular machine here at the Tillsonburg Library. We have staff members, mainly myself and maybe one other person, that comes down and uses it for various tasks throughout the week. We have patrons that come in regularly to use it to view old documents preserved on microfilm or microfiche. And it's a very useful machine. And so this virtual tech talk is to go over the basics of using the machine, how to load up a reel of microfilm onto the machine, and how to use the machine with the ViewScan program that is on the desktop of this particular computer station. Before I get to that, though, I'm going to quickly show you very briefly the kinds of collections that we have on microfilm here at the library. This is the microfilm viewing station, and right to the left of that is our main microfilm reel cabinet. And in this cabinet we have, well, most of the reels we have are Tillsonburg newspapers. Mainly the Tillsonburg News and some of its antecedents, the Tillsonburg Observer, Tillsonburg Liberal, and you'll notice that, well, the earliest date we have is 1863. In those early decades, the mid to late 19th century, coverage is a little spotty. We don't have all issues in all years. However, once we get to 1900, actually, I think coverage is pretty solid all the way through. So this first drawer has 1863 all the way up to, we have labels here on the drawer, 1939. Okay, and then this drawer contains reels for 1940, 1963. And then down here we have 64 to 76, 76 to 82, 82 to 87, and then up to 1990. There's a bit of overlap with our microfiche collection. We have everything else up to 2012 in these boxes here, which are not microfilm reels, but rather sheets, microfiche. Which are pretty much the same material as the reels of microfilm. It's just it's a flat sheet rather than a reel. And you can also use the microfilm viewer to view those as well. So these are over here on this shelf, and we have the Tillsonburg News on microfiche from 1985 up to this should say 2012, because that's where coverage finishes off. We also have in this cabinet here census data going back to the 1850s, mostly for Oxford County, but there are other counties here we have coverage of. You can see here Middlesex, Elgin, Norfolk. We have several drawers of those. If there's anything that you wanted to make absolutely certain we had before you came and made a visit to the library, check our catalog or give us a call, and we can verify for you whether we have it. We do have a lot of folks coming over the course of the month. I'd say, at least a third of the folks that come and use this station come from a great distance. They come from out of town. At the moment, there's no way of reserving this machine. Okay, it's first come, first serve. But if you're coming from a great distance from out of town, I recommend that you give us a call. Okay, and if you give us a call on the day that you want to come or the day before that you want to come, we can put a reserve sign here for you for the day and the time that you want to use it, just to make sure that you do get it. We can do that for you. So just give us a call at the library. And without further ado, I will now show you how to use this machine. Okay, so first things first, how to turn the machine on. First, I'll show you that I've logged in. Okay, if you're an Oxford County Library card holder, you can just use your barcode, log into the station the same as you would log into any other public computer station here. If you're from out of town, you don't have an Oxford County Library card, that's fine. We can give you a guest pass, just ask for one at the front counter. Once you have that and you've signed into the computer desktop, you have to make sure that the machine is on. The first thing I do, before I even turn the machine on, is I remove this piece of foam. We keep this here just to sort of protect the glass, the piece of glass that, or two pieces of glass actually. Now this is a little tricky. I'm holding a camera with one hand. All right, hold on a second. Okay, so I've removed the protective piece of foam that we keep there. And you can see what this machine is. This actually has a tray. Well, I'll get to that in a minute. I'm getting ahead of myself here. I said I'd show you how to turn it on. Well, it's very simple. The main on switch is here on the base of the machine. Turn it in an upward position, and you'll see that there's a light that has gone on beneath the glass. And the second switch you have to hit is the motor switch here for the take-up reel. Press it on, and then you'll get a green light showing you that it's on. Okay, now we know it's on. We can load up a microfilm reel. Now again, because I have just one hand to use, I might end up having to stop the camera at several times throughout this, but we'll see how I do. Make sure when you load a reel of microfilm onto the machine, okay, that the microfilm is coming down from the top in the fashion that you see here. Don't load it, obviously don't load it this way. Sorry, don't load it this way. Don't load it any other way. Don't have it like that. It has to be coming down from the top. And you just push the reel onto the spindle, okay? And yeah, it moves. It's locked there. That's good. And then you take, oops. And then you take the microfilm, okay? Pull the tray out, and you'll notice if I pull it all the way out, you hear a click, and one of the panes of glass will open like this, and that's what you want to see. Now take the reel, the microfilm, and thread it beneath the first white spool. Okay, just pull on it. And then take it beneath the glass, take it beneath the second white spool, whoops, okay, and then thread it through this slot in the take-up reel. All right, and just holding that down with your thumb, give it a couple of turns. Okay, and I think it's loaded up. Now we can push the tray back in, because we'll need to do that to view it. And you can move the reel ahead. Now I'll tell you about these buttons in just a minute and what they do, but I'll tell you that this red forward button is the fast forward button. And we're just going to move it ahead a little bit until we start seeing issues. There we go. Okay, now we can begin to work with that. Now that we've loaded the reel of microfilm we wish to view onto the microfilm viewing machine, we need to view it by using the ViewScan Premium program that's installed on this computer station. And so once you've logged into your desktop, look for the program called ViewScan Premium, and you'll know that it's the proper program because the desktop icon is a little cartoon version of the microfilm scanner that we have here. All right, so just double click on that. And then we get this greeting screen, single click, and then your choice of modes, choose advanced mode, and we're in. Okay, now that we've actually opened the program, you can see that it's showing us what the microfilm viewer is actually seeing. And the way that this reel, most of our Tillsonburg newsreels have been spooled, the image is actually upside down. So there's a way to correct that right away. Okay, we need to rotate the image so it's right side up, and we have along this side, this toolbar on the left here, we have rotate right, rotate left, doesn't matter which one you choose, just give it a couple clicks. Okay, and it has corrected itself. There is the odd reel where it's actually been, it's not that it's been spooled the wrong way, it's actually been completely flipped. In which case, what you're going to get is a reverse image rather than an upside down image. It's going to look like that with all the text going the other way. Obviously, that's not readable, difficult to understand. Thankfully, ViewScan has this mirror image button. Just click that and it flips back and forth. So if you need to correct anything that way, that's the button to use. Forgive my finger there in the camera lens. So those are the rotate functions, which are pretty basic. We have zoom out, zoom in. Okay. Find focus out, find focus in. We'll zoom out, zoom in. I'll show you. It's just as they sound. So zoom out, Okay, we can zoom out or zoom in. Okay, and you'll notice that as we zoom out and zoom in, the focus goes in and out. That's very typical. If you need to adjust focus after you've zoomed in and out, focus in and focus out are the functions that you want. You'll also notice that the brightness and contrast is a little murky. Okay, so if you find an article that you want to crop, if you want to clip it digitally and save it as an image file on a USB drive, or if you want to send it to the printer, you can do that from this station. However, you might want to adjust the brightness and contrast. Let me just give this a little turn. Let's find an article here. All right. I'm going to click the brightness and the adjust light levels tool, and up here a window appears and I can hold and I can click and drag that slider and improve the brightness and contrast that way. All right, and those are the basic functions from that toolbar that I want to show you. As far as actually browsing the microfilm reel, you have several options. You actually have to move the microfilm reel along using the buttons here on the microfilm viewer. I mentioned earlier that this is the fast forward button, slow forward, this is the slow rewind, and the fast rewind. The fast buttons are red and the slower versions of those functions are gray. And if not every, but let's say you load up a reel of microfilm, you're looking for an issue, say later on in the calendar year, say October of a calendar year, and the microfilm reel starts in January, obviously you're going to want to spin through that very quickly. The way to do that is to gently pull the tray out until the glass flips up. Okay, and then fast forward by pressing that button down like that. And the take up reel will take up the film and you're spinning ahead. So you're going from an earlier month to a later month. So that's how to fast forward through it. And then if you want to check where you are, just push it back in and then have a look on the screen. Okay, you can check the date either on the front page or take a look at one of the earmarks. Usually these newspapers have dates in the top corners of each page. There we go. So we've gone from January to May on this reel, January to May 1965. And just to demonstrate the slow buttons, if you want to go through the paper slowly, if you're looking for something, you'll notice how much more slowly it moves forward and backward. Let's say you're just a few issues away. If you use the slow buttons, you can go slowly and sort of watch where you're spinning backwards or ahead just by viewing the screen. If you want to go very, very slowly, what I recommend you do is just actually manually turn the take up reel like that, and you can see. Okay, now I'm going to show you what to do if you find an article that you want to print or scan and save as a digital file to a USB key. Once you've located an article, and we're just going to use this Springfield Enjoys Program article here as just as a demonstration. I don't know if you can see it in the camera, but it's not quite in focus. Okay, I'm going to we don't need to zoom in or zoom out anymore, but if I want to make the focus a bit better, okay, I'm going to use focus out or focus in. I'm going to try focus in first. No, that made it more blurry, so focus out. There we go. Okay, and I'd do like one click at a time, click like 1 or 2 clicks, see how it looks, go back and forth until you have it as sharp and crisp as you can get it. And also, I'm not too happy with the brightness and contrast, so I'm going to go back to the Adjust Light Levels tool, and I'm just going to take out some of the murkiness by sliding this up. There we go. Okay, that looks a bit better. All right, so what I want to do is I want to crop that. So our three tabs I showed you earlier at the top. We have File, Browse, and Crop. I haven't shown you File yet, but I will eventually. I'm going to go to the Cropping tab, and you'll notice our mouse cursor becomes an X. And we just click and drag a blue square around the entire article as we want to print or save it. So click and drag and then release. It turns yellow. And then down here we click on Capture Cropped Area. Click. And then it says, we just missed it there, but there's a little box that shows up in the middle of the screen that says Capturing Cropped Image. And down here, although it's hard to see, we have a little clipboard, okay? And there is the article as we scanned it, okay? And so let's say I want to save that. I can, okay? Once we have it on our clipboard or holding tank or whatever you want to call it, come up here and go to File, okay? And then under File, choose Disk. Pardon me, my hand's a little shaky. Choose Disk. It's going to automatically use as a base file name view scan, and then it's going to add a bunch of zeros and numbers. Just you can rename the file if you want. I think it's going to retain that view scan prefix, which you can delete later if you want. So I usually just accept whatever the view scan program is going to call it, and then I change the file name once I have it on the desktop or on my USB key or wherever. So I recommend just leaving that like that. Choose your location. I actually recommend, even if you want to save some of the USB key, go ahead and make sure that it's going to save first to the desktop. Make sure that it's on the desktop, okay? And so by default, it says desktop. Choose your format. By default, it's multi-page PDF. I don't recommend that. If it's just a single article or a group of single articles that you want to save, I recommend choosing TIFF is a very good image file format with very little compression, so choose TIFF. Okay, and that's all you have to do. Now next, choose on the, click on the big Save button. And then wait for the, see that little box that flashes up? That means that it's been saved. So I want to double check that. So I'm going to double click up here on the top of the window so I can minimize this. Okay, so move this down, and you'll notice on the desktop there's the article saved to the desktop. Now I can very easily retitle that and move it to USB key. I can right click and choose the print function, and then send it to the printer and have it on it and walk away with it on a piece of paper. Printing is 25 cents for black and white printing here at the library. But I'll just actually double click on this and have it come up in the image viewer. You can see now it's a digital image that you can save or print as you want. I always recommend to researchers that come here and use this to actually document in the file name the name of the newspaper, the date of the issue, the page number on which you found the article, and also the column number if you really want to. I understand that there are certain genealogy research programs that require that information if you want to enter the article into a database. It will want to know page number and column number. So it's a really good idea to, if you don't record that in the file name itself, write it down in your notebook. So that's how you crop an image. I'm just going to bring this back up, double click on the top of the window to maximize it. So we've cropped and we've saved it. Now going back to browse, you'll see down here the holding tank. Once I've saved it and I don't want to keep that there, I mean I can keep it there and just continue cropping and clipping articles all I want. But after I'm done, if I want to get rid of that, I can just click on it, and then this preview box comes up at the bottom of which it says delete captured image. I'll click on that and remove it. Yes, remove it from my clipboard or my holding tank. So that's how you crop an article, save it or print it. Down here you'll notice that our PC reservation software, which is the software that manages public access to the computers, it says it's counting down. It's on a countdown clock here. It says 77:44. For most sessions, well, for sessions on any other public computer in this library, when you log in, you'll get a maximum of 60 minutes. On this station, it's a bit different. You actually get, to begin, you get 2 hours, 120 minutes, and it begins to count down from there. We've configured this terminal that way because we know that a lot of folks that come in and use microfilm and do research using the microfilm viewer usually need more than an hour. So we want to accommodate researchers that way. So we've automatically set it to 2 hours. Should you need more time, go up to the circulation desk and let the staff know, and they can extend your time by, if you need another half an hour, we can do that for you. And we're especially willing to do that for researchers that come in at a distance from out of town, because we don't want you, your session to end before you finished your research. Because once you've logged out of a session or your session has expired, you can't log in again until the next day. That's the way our settings work on PC reservation. One thing I neglected to mention earlier, which I should point out, is that while you have zoom out and zoom in functions over here, if you want to get a broader view of a newspaper page, because maybe what you're looking for is best found by looking, sort of stepping back and looking at a more general view, you actually don't have to zoom in, zoom out using these. You can just single click anywhere on the page you're looking at and it will kind of zoom out for you and give you a broader view of the page that you're looking at. Okay, so if you want to zoom back into the article, have a closer look, a single click on the article, you'll notice I'm hovering the magnifying glass cursor over that article. Single click will zoom into that. Another click will zoom out. Let's say I want to have a closer look at that article down there. Hover the magnifying glass cursor over that and it zooms in automatically. So that's another useful tool. Okay, so once I know I'm finished with the reel that I'm using, obviously I'll want to rewind and put it back. Again, that's very simple. You want to use the fast rewind. So gently pull the tray out. The top piece of glass will flip up and then hit the fast rewind. All right, and we've rewound the reel. So I'll just remove it from the spindle and put it back in its box. Now, once you're done, if you're not confident, which is perfectly fine, if you're not confident about putting it back in the cabinet in the proper place, you can just leave it here and we'll put it back for you. That's no problem. Now, one last thing I want to show you. I mentioned earlier that we have many of the later issues of the Tillsonburg News on microfiche rather than microfilm reel. I got one of those out of the box and I'm just going to show you quickly how to load that. I'm going to push this in first. A mistake that folks usually make, okay, is when they take a look at the main power button on the machine, they'll notice that we have film and fiche. You push up as we've done, micro card, okay? Some folks mistake these as micro cards, but they're not. These are microfiche. So you want to use the same power setting. Don't flip this down. A micro card is a different medium. I don't believe we have any micro cards in our collection, so there'll be no need to push this all the way down. Keep it up. And so for one of these microfiche slides, I'm just going to pull that up, have the glass come up. Now I admit this has always been a little tricky. I can't remember how to correctly do this. I think we have to, well, let's experiment. Let's have a look. I'm going to try face down. No, actually I'm going to do it face up. I think it's face up. You'll notice that each one of these microfiche envelopes have dates on them, and then each individual piece of fiche has a date on the top. So this is the issue from January 3rd, 2007. So I'm going to try face up. Hope that works. Now, one of the drawbacks of using fiche rather than the film is that you have to get everything kind of straight by adjusting it manually. I think that's fairly straight. I'm going to gently push it back in. Oh, I got it right. That's wonderful. Okay, so you saw it here, folks. The correct way of doing it, okay, is to insert the fiche top up facing you. Okay, so you should be able to, if you had a magnifying glass, you should be able to read the headlines and the text left to right with the top of the slide up here. Okay, I'm just going to push that back in. Okay, so once you've loaded up a piece of microfiche, the functionality is pretty much the same. Once you have it right side up, you can use your adjust light levels tool the same, cropping tool is the same, the file save function is the same. The only thing that differs is that obviously you're not using reels, so these fast forward and rewind buttons don't really work. If you want to move your way around the piece of microfiche, you have to sort of slide the tray manually up and down, back and forth until you find, you can see here, till you find exactly the article you're looking for. Luckily, these were all photographed in proper sequence, page 1 through whatever, page 20 something, whatever the final page is. And once you're done, remove it by pulling out the tray and then removing the piece of fiche from under the glass. Now these are a bit more tricky. These are a bit trickier to file than the reels of microfilm. So by all means, if you're not confident about putting it back in the proper box, you can just leave it over here where I told you earlier to leave the reels. If you'd like us to file them for you, that's fine. But do try and make sure to put the actual piece of fiche back in the exact spot in the envelope where you found it. Okay, and then you can just leave. You just leave it here. And powering down the microfiche viewer is basically going in the opposite direction than we did when we turned it on. So you want to turn the power button off on the motor, the take-up reel, and then put this switch here on the base back to the middle position. And then here on the view scan program, just choose File. Sorry, we've gone out of focus for some reason. Choose File and then Exit, and then that. Well, sometimes you get the welcome screen again. Just hit Escape. And you're out. And then just, if you're all done your work, you can end your session. Now, one more thing. If you want to email any clippings that you've saved to the desktop here, let's say you don't have a USB key, that's perfectly fine. We do. This is a public computer station like anything else. If you have an email account like Gmail or Outlook or Yahoo or what have you, that you can log into from a browser, we have Microsoft Edge and we have Chrome on here, and you can just log in as you would at home. One of the advantages of having this second screen is that you can have a browser open on this smaller screen and then browse the microfilm in old newspapers or documents on the microfilm viewer on this screen, this larger screen. So that's a huge advantage. And so that's basically it. That's all I have to tell you about the microfilm viewer, at least for today. This is was a very basic and rudimentary overview. Again, sorry for the shaky camera. However, if you have any questions, okay, give me, Matt, a call or an email at the Tillsonburg Library. I'm happy to sit down and go through any of these things with you one-on-one again in person, or if you'd like me to show you any of the more advanced features of the microfilm viewer, we can do that too. Just, again, give me a call, send me an email, and book an appointment with me. Thank you once again for watching the video, and next month we'll be back with another Virtual Tech Talk video.